Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And according to Polygon, Sam and Frodo are gay.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
This is no accident. Tolkien meant to make them queer, and you can't tell people otherwise because we have a new show coming out.
Well, you know, and that's what they're doing. They're preemptively bracing people for the diversity and inclusion that's going to be in the new show. I also want to point out that Polygon will do anything to get hit, so
we're going to talk
jokes
about
on all of us that are clicking on it.
I know, right? Well, we're going to click on it so you don't have to. That's how we're going to do this. We're going to talk about all of this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're over 204,000 subs.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you for this support. Now we're in a relationship.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have never in my life sat and wrote a letter and held your hand at the same time. I'd be like, could you get off of me because I can't think? I mean, I love you and all, but most people,
wait, could you get off of me because I can't think, but I love you, but get the hell off of me.
No, but I'm just saying, okay, have I ever, when you were drawing, sat there with my arm on you and you had to hold my hand while you tried to draw?
No, because you can't. And beyond that, well, you can, but it's weird. I have had people watch me draw. I used to do caricatures. I did caricatures.
Do they hold your hand like
for
that?
years. No, but they hover.
I would have punched them.
They hover over you while you're trying to draw, and sometimes they give you critique as you're drawing because it doesn't quite look the way they think it should look, which is why so many caricaturists, have the easel, facing away from the people they're drawing, and then they do the big reveal. I made the mistake of putting paper down on a flat surface where they can see because it's more comfortable for me to draw that way.
Most people were fine with it, but I'm just saying, you don't usually write letters like this. You don't usually draw like this. I mean, I get the point of the picture. I've seen it with, a guy and a girl before too, but it's just a dumb pose because it wouldn't happen.
No,
I need to. The art's bad. Just the pose is stupid.
I need to hold the paper with my other hand. That's how I. Anyway, we're gonna talk about this first.
The letter says scribble, 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 scribble. Scribble, heart, heart, scribble, scribble.
It's their nuptials.
Okay.
He's gonna leave Rosie.
Right,
For Frodo.
Mm-hmm.
Master Frodo. Oh God, that's problematic.
How dare he?
Master Frodo.
Mm-hmm. I guess that makes him his slave.
I do not want to know. I'm just thinking, hobbits and leather don't really go together. That should be the new saying. Hobbits and leather don't go together. Well, except their vests and stuff.
I was just wondering about how with their feet being that furry. What about? Never mind.
There's a fetish for that too.
Anyway,
let's get yeah. Okay, so we've been talking about the media. We have to talk about the utter state of Polygon, Kotaku, and these news sites. I'm using air quotes here because they're in such a state right now, and they admit it. Kotaku's new old editor-in-chief, I don't know, she was there before. They admitted that they are failing. They're failing to bring gamers in. And honestly, an article like this doesn't even belong on Polygon. It's supposed to be a video game news site. So, she's like, well, we're kind of failing. So yeah, we got to kind of clickbait sometimes, get people come here because we've already chased off the gamers who just want game news. Now it's drama, but we're going to triple down on that because, we don't want to be a game news site. We want to talk about people and interests. And Kotaku was given a free PlayStation 5 and they turned it into an anti-Trump rant. Polygon, I think, was the one that had the free Xbox.
Was it then the holes?
And it turned into, the woman that reviewed it had a fear of holes, tiny holes.
Then why did you give it to somebody who didn't have it? That's more nasty about the site. They know this person has a phobia and they give them something to cover that they know they're phobic of.
I know, right? Anyway, speaking of phobic, see the transition?
Oh, see, yeah. See their transition? Anyway.
Speaking of phobic, there have been a lot of allegations about Tolkien over the years that he was phobic and
Yeah, that's what they always say.
racist.
For years, it's been, he was Catholic or Christian. He was a terrible racist, phobic person. How dare he? He was horrible. We should not support Lord of the Rings because he was a bad person because he was phobic and terrible and Christian and all those bad things.
And this bleeds over into the argument about D&D and fantasy in general that because D&D was based heavily on Tolkien's work. It was almost kind of like an unlicensed Tolkien game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And so for years it was Tolkien was a racist, Tolkien was a homophobe, Tolkien was misogynist, Tolkien wasn't a very progressive guy, even though, he was born in a different era. He wouldn't have been, for the most part. That was then. Now in the last couple years, it's Tolkien was one of us. Tolkien was anti-racist, which I believe he was, as much as a person of his time could be. I guess Germany came knocking and was asking how pure his blood was, and he wrote them a very nasty letter. But then at the end of this article, the author proceeds to say that, well, Tolkien basically said that dwarves were Jewish people. I'm like, what? Because they like money. I'm like, you're reading into that.
Wait, he said that?
This is what the author of this article, defending Tolkien, saying Tolkien told the Yahtzees to suck a lemon when they came knocking and said, hey, prove your bloodline. He's like, that's a bunch of shit. And of course, Tolkien wasn't always so complimentary toward Jewish people. His methods of incorporating that into his books were often unenlightened. Like in The Hobbit, Gandalf describes dwarves as calculating folk with a great idea of the value of money. Some are tricky and treacherous and pretty bad lots. That's not...
Did he say that he based it on Jewish people?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Again, this is you reading into his work. Things that are not there. So, we go from that, reading into his work, and orcs are racist. Orcs are supposed to be black people according to...
the current year.
Current year.
Again, I'd never read Tolkien. My only experience with him were the films, which I know aren't indicative of the books. Because the books are all over the place. But, so I cannot say here or there, I can't say because I wasn't, I never read them or, read interviews with him or anything. I just know that the media has been trying to vilify him for years. And now all of a sudden they're trying to flip it right as the Amazon show comes out, which will probably fix all those problems.
That is what, that's what's probably going on. Let's be honest, because the Amazon show is coming out. They're already talking about some of the changes they're going to make. I have zero interest, like less than zero interest in this show. I think Peter Jackson did a fine job on the original 3 films. I did not like the Hobbit movies, even though I think the cast was good. I think it was way too damn long and a lot of filler and a lot of things that didn't need to be there.
Well, it seems like that's what's going on here. I thought they didn't want them to do more Lord of the Rings stuff. Now Amazon's suddenly doing it.
Who the hell knows? And they bought MGM, Amazon, so they've got the rights to the Hobbit too and all that jazz. So I don't know what's going on really. I don't really care. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention. I just know that there are rumblings that the Amazon Lord of the Rings show is going to be quote unquote woke, that they're already talking about all the changes and the diversity and the inclusion initiative and yada, yada, yada. And we know how these Hollywood studios roll now.
Yeah, well, that's what, I mean, if nothing else proves that's what's going to happen, the concerted effort to change the narrative they've already established is what I'm noticing, because they have spent years vilifying Tolkien, and now they're trying to walk that back and change the position on it now. That's what, as someone that's outsider looking in, that's what I see.
Tolkien's a good guy now because we get a diverse and inclusive Lord of the Rings series from Amazon. So, oh my God, we spent all these years. No, let's read into Tolkien even more stuff that wasn't there. First, we were reading in racism and bigotry into Tolkien, and now we're going to flip it and be like, no, Tolkien was actually kind of queer, wasn't he? He was, that's what he was saying. And this is because of, again, believe, the Amazon series, but the Tolkien Society, there's a big brouhaha over this because they're launching their own, diversity and inclusion programming, counter programming.
Well, see, they're about diversity. Well, here's the kicker. The characters, this story is very diverse. I mean,
Yeah.
there are like a bunch of different, different types of, characters, elves, dwarves, et cetera, that weren't actual real people. How come that counts as diversity? But when you say things like, hey, Star Wars was very diverse, they had a lot of different aliens. No, it's not.
Well, the thing is that Tolkien based Middle Earth on, it was basically supposed to be a prequel to Great Britain. It was supposed to be sort of a mythical,
Well, yeah.
creation story for the British people, so it's going to be about
How very dare he?
It's going to be about as diverse as you would expect it to be.
No, but I'm just saying, I mean, given that with the fantasy characters and stuff, though, if you look at that, it is diverse. So they're trying to argue now that it's diverse when they were yelling that it wasn't before.
So this is what they're calling for. They're calling for papers here at the Tolkien Society, and this is, look, long way around to get to the point with the Polygon article. It's too late because you're going to see a tale of two Tolkiens.
Okay.
You're going to see the bad guy Tolkien, but that was very 2016. Mm-hmm. And now it's good guy queer Tolkien, because current year we're going to do this new show. But yeah, they're talking about how representation is more important than ever, and Tolkien's efforts to represent or ignore particular characteristics requires further examination. Additionally, how a character's identity shapes and influences its place within Tolkien's secondary world still requires attention.
But he's dead, and it's his stuff. So the Tolkien Society is, after he's dead, are going to go change everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Specifically, they claim this seminar aims to explore the many possible applications of diversity within Tolkien's works, his adaptations, and his readership.
Why don't you just make new stuff say it's Tolkien-esque? Why are you? So you're basically going to go back and change everything he did because he's dead now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what they're saying, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Topics for the papers they want include a list of representation in Tolkien's works, of course, race, gender, sexuality, disability, class, religion, age, etc., Tolkien's approach to colonialism and post-colonialism, adaptations of Tolkien's works, diversity and representation in Tolkien academia and readership, identity within Tolkien's works, and alterity in Tolkien's works. So this takes us here. Long way around, because now it's, these characters were actually gay, just Tolkien couldn't say anything about it because he wasn't allowed to because it was 1950s.
What?
The look on your face is priceless and people can't see it.
I'm this close to getting up and walking out of the room because this is so stupid. But the fact is, I'm more mad about is that they spent years
demonizing Tolkien.
him, and now they're trying to turn it around. But they're also saying, to me, as someone who's a creator myself, basically your works are going to be okay after we fix them. That's what I'm upset about. It's like, if you don't like them, then go do something. Go find a different one or make a new something.
Yeah.
That's based on or inspired by.
But that's hard. So we've taken a long way around, and we've muddied our waters. I mean, if you go to Wikipedia and you talk about the male intimacy in Tolkien, they talk about all these academics that have looked at it and yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, the answer is shipping. Shipping, that's where we end up.
If you go looking for something, you're going to find it. That's what they always say. If you're out there looking for something, if you're looking for problems, you're going to find it. If you're looking for a certain thing. There was an experiment done, probably a century ago at this point. But they had different students there. I think there was a reporter who did something like this too. And they were noticing that if you went into a mental institution and you were put in there, even if you were completely okay, because they had already pre-decided that you were something, that no matter what you did, even if it was normal behavior, it was indicative of what they have labeled you as. And that's what this reminds me of.
Confirmation bias.
And then they wouldn't let them out. Like the one guy, I know it was a college professor did the one, he had to actually go and get them out because they would not release them. When they after they labeled them and put them in the institute or whatever it was, they acted normal and just were going about their day, and then they still wouldn't release them and said it was because it was indicative of their whatever they had based on their biases. And that's what this reminds me of. If you're looking for those kind of things because you already decided this, you're going to find them.
Yeah, so this is coming from Polygon. Now I do believe this has more to do with this meme that we're gonna say something.
I think so too.
Controversial to drum up hits, because now everybody's talking about Tolkien, everybody's talking about representation.
I think that's part of it, but I also think that Amazon's is strongly asking people to reverse the course on what their narrative has been about Tolkien leading up to this. So don't worry, guys, we're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix your shit, Tolkien.
They have to put a trigger warning on this. It mentions homophobia and suicide. There's a trigger warning on the article shipping Sam and Frodo. So yeah, queer readings of The Lord of the Rings are not accidents. No, of course they're not accidents. You're trying to insert something
Look
into
who wrote it.
Oh, that's Noelle Stevenson's wife, isn't it? Okay, well that explains a lot. Anyway, let's get down.
What, she not selling enough comics now? She's going out Polygon writing articles like this?
I don't know. I thought she was working on animation and stuff. But they're cherry picking quotes from Lord of the Rings.
You know what? I love my friends too.
Yeah. Now, again, context. Tolkien was in the military. Back in the day, and this is Anthony Mackie had to smack some people down too about this. Back in the day, guys in the military, they had a very close bond. They were very much like brothers. When you talk about loving your brother in arms, loving your brother, it wasn't loving your brother. Oh, it might have been loving your brother, but they didn't talk about that much either. But it was a brotherly bond that guys that were in the military had and still have to some extent. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's everything I have read, everything I have understood about Tolkien was there was so much of his experience in the military that he put into Lord of the Rings. And a lot of that, the Sam and Frodo had a brotherly bond, and they were up against this unstoppable force, and they had to persevere and they had to rely on each other. And they were in the battlefield, and that was my understanding. I have never gotten gay from Sam and Frodo.
No, especially since Sam kept talking about,
Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's that. Everybody keeps forgetting that Sam marries Rosie. Okay, and yeah, I mean, whatever. Anyway, it just goes on and on and on and on, and we're reading entirely too much into this, and I think it's for clicks. I really do. I think it's for clicks. This is all about pushing this narrative, pushing your ship, ship,
I'm just
and getting clicks. You're out.
I'm out. As soon as I saw who wrote it, I'm like, oh, I'm just not even. I'm not even. As soon as I saw who wrote it, I was like, oh, it's more the same. It's like when I saw who was going to lead the showrunner and She-Ra, I knew what we were in for.
So Tolkien lived in a world where open same-sex romance was a social and often literal death sentence, where even writing about it, except to condemn it, was forbidden. For example, we can look at Tolkien's good friend C.S. Lewis. Lewis wrote in a letter to Sheldon Vanauken, later reprinted in the autobiography, that Lewis had received a letter from a pious male homosexual, but of course it was the sort of letter one takes care to destroy. So wait a second. Wait. I hope they're not. He was married. Tolkien was married, right? He had kids, right? Mm-hmm. Christopher Tolkien, who hates every damn thing that Hollywood does to his dad's. Yeah. That's where he came from. I'm putting that out there. Tolkien's fame as a Catholic writer leads people to assume he wasn't tolerant of queerness. Nobody said he wasn't tolerant of queerness.
No, that's not true. People have been saying it. People on places like this for years when they're trying to vilify him prior to them wanting to cash in for Amazon.
No sane people have said that he wasn't tolerant of queerness. It was just the mob that wanted to cancel him now want to turn his works into something they're not, because
It's 2021.
It's 2021. His published writing does not provide any evidence for this, unlike Lewis's. The only mention is a bland reference in his biography by Humphrey Carpenter. As to homosexuality, Tolkien claimed that at 19 he did not even know the word.
That doesn't mean any... That doesn't...
So he would have been probably in the military at that age, and you really think that he was basing Sam and Frodo, Sam who got married to Rosie, and Frodo, that he was in the closet, and that's why he was...
Well, later on, because he wrote his friend was openly gay.
Okay.
And you're allowed to have gay friends, right? It doesn't mean you're gay.
It doesn't.
Of course, they'll argue, well, there's nothing proving that he wasn't either, because he's not here. We can't ask him. Well, that's true, except he was married and had a kid. So if anything, he was bi. But
this wasn't.
I can't.
It's. Yeah, I don't even know. I'm to the point where it's like, look, The shippers have commandeered Tolkien now too. And they're going to love the shit out of this Amazon show because it's going to...
I think Sam and Frodo should have kissed. But how do you know they didn't?
Because he didn't write it? Was it in the appendices?
I don't know. But let's be honest, most people haven't read these books. I haven't read these damn books. But you know who has? Neon.
I have. I never got any queerness out of it, but I wasn't looking for it either. I wasn't wired that way when I read the books because I was probably, I'm going to say it's been a while, 7th or 8th grade since I've read them. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been thinking that anyway. But yeah, I just always took it to mean close male friendship, which for some reason is taboo now. I mean, again, Anthony Mackie had to smack people down. Mackie had to smacky. He had to smack people down because they were shipping Sam and Bucky, and he's like, they're just friends. They're just friends.
I'm not going to go back to the article, but I saw further down, they're like, well, because Frodo and Bilbo were bachelors. There are a lot of people who don't get married, both female and male. That does not mean that they're LGBTQ. It could mean that, does it? But it does not necessarily mean that.
Sam got married. Frodo didn't get married because he been through some shit, and I'm sure he would be a real peach to live with, you know, having almost been corrupted by the ring. And
well, that was Bilbo and Frodo. Both. Neither one got married.
Yeah, neither one got
and
married.
They just go off with the elves in the end anyway. Maybe they were into elves. Oh my God, now we know.
Oh my God, are elves coded? What are the elves coded as?
Maybe they didn't get married to other hobbits because they weren't into hobbits. Maybe it was an racial relationship.
Species relationship, yeah.
I'm like, how, or are you trying to say that you can't be married to someone who's not like you? Is that what you're trying to argue? I can do this shit all day. Whatever, I can go find the exact same evidence in other ways too. I mean, if you're looking for, it's like the Bible. Anybody can look at the Bible and they can argue whatever the heck they want if they're looking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is you're reading entirely too much into Tolkien's work to put something in it that was not there because current year, because your ship. Basically, at the end of the day, it's your ship. It's about your ship.
Yeah, Bilbo wanted to remain unattached because for some reason deep down, which he didn't understand himself, he would not acknowledge it, for it alarmed him. Well, that sounds like he doesn't want to be with anyone. It doesn't sound like he was, secretly, hot for somebody else that was
Gandalf.
Yeah, or I was going to say Gandalf, but it just might mean that because some people just don't want to be married. Some people just don't want that attachment. Some people are afraid of commitment for other reasons in their life or whatever. You could argue that just as easily. And this is just, Polygon trying to get clicks using, somebody who goes out and deliberately tries to kick the beehive for hits.
With the situation with Bilbo, I always understood him because at that point, he was younger when he went and he found the ring, went on his adventure, and I just kind of figured at that point he was basically married to the ring, and it got worse and worse.
It corrupted you, and then when you're corrupted, it's like well. And
plus, he was everybody was after his money, so he probably didn't want any gold diggers. And
because he's Jewish.
Oh, the dwarves.
Nuh-uh. Because he was out of money too. So, oh my God, he's Jewish too. Shit. Well, geez. What the hell?
I can't. And look, at the end of it, all these articles are going to come out, and I look at the Tolkien situation as bleeding over into the tabletop RPG situation because it's all kind of intermingled. It's the same crowd of people that are reading or not reading into tabletop gaming, commandeering tabletop gaming, that are doing this with Tolkien because Tolkien was the foundation of modern tabletop gaming.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, I just think there's room for everyone.
Yeah.
If you want to read them as that way, then that's fine. You go ahead and do that. I mean, no one's telling you can't. But I'm just like, stop telling everybody else that they have to. And beyond that, stop spending years vilifying Tolkien, saying he was against, black people and against, gay people and against all these other people for years. And now when it's convenient for you, you're trying to flip that narrative because now that you are running this, that, or the other, now it's okay. Now it's okay because you're in charge. I'm like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. So, there it is. I don't know. It shouldn't surprise me. I mean, we're going to see more of this. I think after George Lucas passes, I think we're going to see, it would not surprise me if Disney doesn't distance themselves from Walt Disney, if they don't rewrite Walt Disney's history somehow, just to be like, well, did you know Walt was actually completely different than anybody ever thought, here's the hidden history of Walt Disney.
Him and Ub had a thing going on.
Him and Ub had a thing going on, yes. And you didn't know anything about that, all these years. It doesn't surprise me.
Do you know how Ub Eye works? Walt Disney does.
That's the song they used to hum together.
Yeah, that's
they would finish each other's songs.
Oh, songs. Okay, you better.
Ub would be working in the one room, and he would start to whistle, and then Walt would whistle along with him.
That was because they were flirting. So now you know. No,
Yeah.
I mean seriously, if you want to make a narrative, it's so easy to find anything to do that from. It is what it is. But if you want to believe that that's how they are because it makes you feel better, then by all means do that. But you can't demand everybody else believes it just because you do.
Steamboat Willie was a guy that they were really good friends with that worked at the docks. That's where that came from. For good times, see Steamboat Willie.
That's right.
Do. No, okay. Anyway, gonna wrap this one up.
Yes.
It's just this is the world we live in now, where we rewrite history. Daily, monthly, weekly. It's insane. Talk to you later.
Bye.